What's up everyone, here is AhkTaar and welcome back on my YouTube channel. This time in this video I'm gonna talk about my personal tier list, about the heroes that are great in order to try to beat the fire element on the elemental city. You have to know that we are gonna have the same rotation at the end of February. We are gonna have the same elements and so the same enemies and bosses in normal stages. So this is why I want to make this video, in order to be prepared for this content. And I know that not everybody does have the good heroes in order to try to beat this content, and that it is more like an endgame content. I know about that, but maybe it can give you some tips, some advice, some heroes to focus first in order to try to beat this kind of content. Or maybe I can give you some tips to share your heroes in your guild during this content. So before we jump into this video, I would like to mention also that we know some informations about the future rotation of the elements in the elemental city. The next rotation is gonna be the rock one, and during the rock rotation, during all the month of March, enemies maybe are gonna take more direct damage and more poison damage, and also you will need some cleanser in your team. This is what I can tell you for now. We don't have more information yet, but yeah, direct damage and poisoners are gonna be normally great in the future rotation incoming in March, and you will need some cleansers. Probably because enemies are gonna inflict some controls, debuffs or dots on ourselves. I don't know exactly yet, but yeah. So let's jump into this tier list here. For example, to begin with, I have 4 different categories, but yeah, let's avoid talking about Nikolas. We all know why Nikolas is broken, so let's concentrate on the others. First of all, I'm gonna begin at the bottom. Beasley, I think she is insane for this kind of content early game, because she is gonna lower the speed with the basic attack, inflict with her passive resistance down 50%, and it can help a lot in this rotation, especially against the last boss, Lady, because you want to apply a lot of bleeds on him, and in order to be accurate, you need to lower his resistance. So she does that, and also she can lower the attack by 40% in AoE. She is insane for that, and she's gonna increase your speed. I love this hero. Then we have Rudolph. Rudolph is gonna deal a decent amount of direct damage, but you don't want to play him with his because of his damage, but because he is gonna control enemies with all his skills. He is only a single target, but still he can freeze enemies, and if you use him with Ben Austin, you will have more chance to freeze enemies with the pursuit, so he is decent. This is why he is in the B category. Then you're gonna have Christian. He is great for this kind of content because he can provide a shield by 20% of his max HP to all your allies, but also he has an AoE stun with his ultimate, and he can stun with the basic attack, making him great for the pursuit with Ben Austin. Then we are gonna have Huff. Huff is nice because he can lower the resistance by 50% using his basic attack. He can inflict defense down and tenacity down 60% with his second skill in single target. Great if you want to use him with direct damage in this content. And finally, with his ultimate, he can apply 2 HP burnings in AoE, and so he is great for the waves. During this tier list video, I'm talking only about the main stages, normal stages from 0 to 75. I'm not gonna mention the special stages because the rotations are gonna be every 2 weeks, and it's gonna be super hard, and you know everything about that yet. Then I have Asindo in here. Asindo, but if you don't have exclusive 3 on her, then forget about her. She is here because once you have exclusive 3 on her, she is gonna freeze targets which have already a silence on them. Otherwise, she is gonna be useless just to reduce the turn meta, but you don't really need that, so forget about her without the 3rd exclusive. Luna is interesting because she can hypnotize the targets, but if you want that to be possible with Ben Austin, you need her to be the slowest in your team, because the pursuits of Ben Austin work like that. The fastest hero play first, and the slowest play pursuit in the latest position. So this is why she is interesting. She can heal a lot, lower the attack by 40%. She can cleanse, apply a resistance to debuffs, and that can help against the burns, to prevent enemies to apply burns on your heroes. She is gonna revive, increase your attack by 40%. It can be great against the boss lady, thanks to the bleeds. It's gonna increase the damage, so pretty nice. Then you have Anton. He is great because you have some stuns on him with his passive. It's gonna be hard to apply the stuns, but still, he can apply Consolidation 1, apply a big shield on your heroes, increase your turn meta, cleans dots, so he is pretty nice for that. Then you have Wim. Wim can provide a shield, a big shield. He can apply a consolidation. He can protect your allies if they take too much damage. He can provide an extra shield on them, and so it can save your life. But he is not super efficient in here. Then you have Elik. Elik, if you have the first exclusive, is gonna apply the resistance to debuff on your heroes, and it can prevent the enemies from detonating your heroes and kill you. Without exclusive, he is still nice because he can increase your defense, tenacity, and also provide consolidation too. So he is pretty nice, and if you use him with Ben Austin, he has some chance to stun enemies using the basic attack, so it can be decent. Then we have Pauline. He does almost the same as Elik, but also he can steal your heroes, he can heal a lot, he is decent in here. But he has no control effects, so yeah, just decent. Then you have Elsa. She can heal a lot, apply a shield on your heroes, and if you have the third exclusive on her, she is gonna put a damage immunity on your heroes if someone dies in your team. So if you use her with a reviver hero, then you can protect your team. It's gonna be great. Otherwise, she is decent. And then you have Kaido. He is gonna increase your stats, he's gonna increase your resistance, the shield effect on your heroes, the heal effect on your heroes, and he can stun in AoE, so he is interesting for this content. Then you have Tuck. If you have the first exclusive, use him, otherwise avoid using him because he's gonna freeze all your heroes. He can control enemies, apply a big shield, bonus in HP, so he is decent in here. Ruin is nice, he can stun enemies in AoE, but you can't stun with the basic attack because enemies does not have an attribute buff on them, and he stun with the basic attack only if he remove an attribute buff, and it's not gonna be the case, so forget about him. He is just gonna be nice for his ultimate to stun enemies, otherwise I don't really recommend to use him. Then we have Fiona, great in this content because she can stun in AoE using her ultimate, she can revive, heal, cleanse, she is insane. Then we have, insane, she is great. Then we have Grandy. He is pretty nice in here, he can lower the speed, he can freeze a lot and deal some decent damage with his basic attack if he attacks targets with speed reduction or freeze on them. Then you have Malik. If you have the third exclusive on him, he is gonna freeze really often enemies, otherwise you will need more turns in order to freeze them with his passive, but he is pretty interesting for this kind of content, sorry. Then you have Alahan. He is great, he heals a lot, he can stun in AoE, and yeah, he is pretty decent for that. Then you have, I decided to put Nita in here as a DPS. She is great because she's gonna do a lot of damage to enemies in AoE, and for specific bosses such as Rumil, it's needed, it's mandatory to deal some damage in AoE to kill enemies that are controlled, so this is why I decided to put her in here. Then we have Okmin, same comment as for Nita. He is here in order to apply more damage on enemies if you need some. Then we have Natalie. She is decent in here, maybe as a second bleeder, because otherwise she won't apply a lot of bleeds by herself. So if you want to kill the boss lady, you are gonna need one main bleeder, and you can use her as a second bleeder in order to lower his unique stacks and kill him. She is decent for the waves, she's gonna deal decent damage, bleed once, so yeah, she is pretty decent. Then you have Sigmund, great in order to inflict some HP burnings and protect your team with his shield, so yeah, you can use him if you have him. Then you have secondary bleeders, Reeves, Lomas and Elena. Lomas is great normally to apply a lot of bleeds at once, but here the fact is that he needs a huge amount of effect hit in order to be efficient and apply bleeds on enemies. And so if you don't have a lot of effect hits, then he is going to be a secondary bleeder. And also, in order to increase your chance to apply a lot of bleeds with him, you have to reduce the resistance of the enemy by 50%. He does it by 25% using the basic attack, which is still pretty nice. But yeah, still, you need at least to use him with Huff to reduce more resistance on bosses, or with Nikolas if you have him. Reeves is gonna apply a lot of bleeds by himself, but more as a secondary bleeder, and same for Elena. Then let's talk about the A category. Here you have Elena. Gilliman, sorry, first. You have Gilliman. She is great without exclusive because she can lower the speed in AoE by 40%, and this speed reduction is mandatory in the entire dungeon. You have Gilliman, you have Elena, exclusive one, that can do that. You have Space, but it's in single target. Gohana is a single target too. You have Nikolas in AoE, but if you don't have Nikolas, then you have to rely on Gilliman and Elena. Elena can do it if she has the first exclusive, otherwise she won't reduce the speed of enemies, and she will just be here in order to lower the crit damage taken by your allies and heal your heroes. So I don't really recommend to use the Elena if you don't have the first exclusive. Then you have Timmy. Timmy can do this with the basic attack. It's pretty nice because reducing the speed by 40% using a basic attack is insane, but also he can reduce the crit rate of enemies by 50% and their attack by 40% and protect your heroes at the beginning of the wave with the consolidation 1. With his passive, he's gonna reduce the direct damage taken by your allies, so he is pretty insane. Then you have Sinov. Sinov can also reduce the speed by 40% with her AoE. She's gonna require a lot of effect hit though, but she is really nice for that. Also, she can reduce the speed by 20% using her basic attack. She can increase your turn meter, heal, apply a shield, she lower the turn meter of enemies. She is great for this content, and she is an epic one. So if you don't have Gilliman and Elena, exclusive one, you can use Sinov, especially if you don't have Nikolas. She can also freeze enemies who are under speed reduction, so yeah, she is awesome for this content. Then you have Space. You already know about her. She is great in here because she can lower the turn meter of enemies, and it works against bosses because I think, if I remember correctly, that you can reduce 50%, the turn meter reduction on bosses works at 50%. So she is decent. She can increase your turn meter, lower the turn meter, lower the speed by 40%, increase your speed by 20%, increase your turn meter, heal, sorry, I already said about the turn meter boost. She is nice. Rumble is great in here. He is better than Grandy because Grandy can lower the speed by 20% and him can lower the speed by 40% with his ultimate also. Yeah, I forgot to mention him also. He can lower the speed by 40% using his ultimate. He can freeze enemies on all his skills. He is insane for this kind of dungeon. Maybe the best, one of the best controller in the game for this kind of content. Great in here. Then you have Nazil. Nazil can freeze enemies in AoE, freeze using the basic attack, attack, protect your allies, so take damage instead of them, and heal them if he apply the ally protection on an ally that already has the ally protection. If you have the first exclusive, you don't need a lot of speed on him because he's gonna play before enemies, and against the boss Rumil, it's gonna be great to control the ads before the boss takes his turn. Also, with the pursuit of Ben Austin, he is gonna do the job. He can freeze enemies, and same for Rumble. Then you have Guhana. If you don't have the second exclusive, I recommend to use Space instead of her. If you have the second exclusive on her, she is gonna increase the speed of your heroes by 40% instead of 20%, and this is great for this content. Otherwise, she can heal, increase your turn meta, the same as Space does, and yeah, she is great for that. And lower the direct damage you're gonna take, but enemies are inflicting some burns on your heroes, so it doesn't count. But against bosses, the boss Lady, it's gonna work. And then you have Creon. Creon is awesome. He is awesome for two reasons. He has two different forms. With the first one, he can stun control enemies in AoE using his ultimate with his basic attack, so it's gonna work super well thanks to Ben Austin. And if he switch in his second form, he can apply HP burnings in AoE and with the basic attack, so you can use him as a control hero or as a damage dealer. He is awesome. Then you have Melia. She's gonna inflict a lot of HP burnings, but she is in the A category if you have at least the second exclusive on her, because she can inflict an HP burning in AoE when she transforms if she has the second exclusive, and if you have the third one, you are going to increase her HP burning damage by 25%, and once you have the third exclusive, she becomes great for this kind of content. She's going to kill enemies super easy normally. But if you don't have exclusive on her, she is nice, but not broken. Then let's talk about the best category in here, and in my opinion, the heroes that are here, you can share them with your guildmates. 100% sure about that. Just not Catherine. Everybody has Catherine in their account, so don't share her, please. So the first one is Ben Austin, almost mandatory for this kind of content. With his pursuit, you can deal way more damage and inflict more controls, etc. He is just insane for this kind of content. If you use him with a control unit, you are gonna freeze or stun enemies with his pursuit. If you use him with direct damage, he's gonna make more damage with your other heroes, inflict more bleeds, etc. He is awesome. And then we have Lucia, the best bleeder for this dungeon. She's gonna deal insane damage and inflict a ton of bleeds by herself on the boss lady. She is insane, so if you have her, you can share her with your guildmates. Then you have Ilcaster, the best controller in the game in my opinion. If you have one, share it with your guildmates. He's gonna be insane. He can control with an 85% chance on his second skill with a 3-turn cooldown. He can increase his own turn meta by 30% using the basic attack, and it works with the counter attacks and the pursuit of Ben Austin. This is insane. He is gonna freeze a lot of really often enemies, and also he can increase your attack by 40%, and so with your daughters it's gonna be better. And if you use direct damage dealers, it's gonna make them deal a lot of damage because he can reduce the defense and the tenacity of enemies by 60%, sorry. He is just insane for this content, and also he deal a lot of damage too. Then you have Nordak. Nordak is great in here because against the boss Occam, the one that looks like Eric, he is great because you need heroes with damage immunity or immortal in order to survive when the boss apply the bombs on your heroes. If you don't have such heroes in your team, then you are probably gonna lose the fight. So Nordak is great in here for that, to apply the damage immunity. Also, he can increase your HP by 25%, so it's gonna increase the damage of your HP burnings if you are using them. And he can protect with a shield. He can apply a lot of buffs on your heroes. He is great for that. Then you have Focus. probably the best support to have in here. He is great in all stages. You can use him with your controllers. Imagine you froze all enemies, they take a turn and they are not frozen anymore. You don't have your cooldowns and they are gonna play. Just use his ultimate on your controller unit and control again enemies. If you need to inflict more bleeds against the lady, use him. Give an extra turn to your bleeder and use an ultimate back. He is insane, and also he can apply an immortal on all your heroes, and so he's gonna protect you against the boss Occam. He is insane in all content, and also he can reduce the turn meter of the boss by 15% using his basic attack, lower the attack by 20% on the basic attack. He is so great. Then you have Hertha. Hertha can apply a ton of bleeds, especially if you have exclusives on her. She's gonna be better. She has, if I'm correct, an AoE bleed attack, so she is pretty nice for all content in this tower, and she's gonna self-enhance her skills, buff her speed and bleed damage, so she's gonna be insane for this content. Same for Hizaro. He's gonna apply a lot of bleeds by his own. He is gonna increase his bleed damage over time and deal a lot of damage. He is great in here. Then you have Hezonja. He is still great here, the best DPS you can have. He is better than all DPS in the game. Even if the enemies take 50% less HP burning damage, he is still gonna destroy them. He is insane. So if you have some, maybe talk to your guild members and ask them if they need a good Hezonja and share your Hezonja with them. He's gonna be great. Then you have Catherine. She is the best support in the game. You can play her everywhere, and she is great in here for the counter attack and the consolidation and the cleanses. She is insane, and also she heals a lot, so if you have, use her everywhere. Then you have Nidrold. Same comments as for Hizaro and Hertha. He is great. He's gonna apply a lot of bleeds, especially if you have the third exclusive. He's gonna inflict more bleeds with his ultimate. Otherwise, maybe with these heroes you're gonna need a second bleeder. I don't know. It depends. If you lower the speed of the boss, increase your own speed, use Ben Austin with them, normally you should be able to inflict enough bleeds on the boss using these bleeders, so yeah, he's gonna be great. Then you have Creon. Seal, sorry. If you have him, he is a limited unit coming from the Halloween event. If you have him, he can apply an immortal on your heroes, so he can be really useful. So if you have him in your team, if your guildmates need an immortal, and if you don't have any other solution, share him with your guildmates. Then you have Gerina. She is great because she can revive multiple heroes at once. She can apply an immortal on the heroes that are alive when she uses her ultimate. If you have the first exclusive on her, she can horrify enemies, but the horrify, I'm not super fan of it. You have only 50% chance to control the enemy, otherwise he can be lucky enough to attack you and kill you. So it's interesting, the horrify, but this is why I didn't talk about Zakma, for example, or Mae, because horrify are not 100% reliable. Then you have Quinlan. If you have a Quinlan, especially exclusive 2 or more, share him with your guildmates. He is insane. He can play before enemies super easy without the need of a lot of speed. He can freeze them, inflict HP burnings, deal a lot of damage. He is great in here. And finally you have Mamuk. Mamuk is immortal. He is gonna apply a taunt on him and an immortal, increase the duration of his buffs, steal buffs on enemies, but you don't need a steal buff here, but he's gonna increase the duration of his own buffs, which is great because he will be almost always immortal. He can lower the attack of enemies by 40% with the basic attack, and also he can horrify with the basic attack. I used him with my Ben Austin and it was super efficient against the boss Rumil. If you didn't see my video, just have a look, watch it. It is really interesting. Mamuk is such a great hero in here. So if you have one, if in your account, you can share him with your guildmates. And finally, the broken unit, we have Nikolas. Nikolas is gonna bring everything you need to in this content. If you don't have exclusive on him, resistance less 50%. He's gonna apply a shield on your heroes, increase the damage of your heroes. He is gonna freeze enemies, and if enemies are already frozen, he is gonna increase the duration of the freeze by 1 turn, which is pretty insane for the waves. He can lower the speed in AoE by 40%, so he is great. If you have the first exclusive, it's even better, because using the second skill, he is gonna increase your speed by 40% on all your heroes. If you have the second exclusive on him, he is gonna perma-freeze all waves, because every time he is gonna freeze an enemy, he is gonna reduce the cooldown on his ultimate, and so every 2 turns normally you can freeze again enemies. So if you are using another hero to freeze them, then use Nikolas to freeze them 1 more turn. He's gonna get his cooldown back and freeze them again and again and again. He is broken with the second one. And if you have the third exclusive, you are gonna have an extra life on all your heroes. So every content in the game and this elemental city will be easier. So that was all for the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If it's the case, as usual, please like, comment and subscribe, and then see you in the next one. Bye bye. Also, I would like to mention something in here, really important. If you plan to build AhkTaar, he is gonna be great in dungeon, in arena, and also in the faction abyss. You can solo a lot of content with him. Great choice. If you have a focus, he's gonna be insane everywhere. If you have Hezonia, he's gonna be insane everywhere, okay? So these heroes, you don't have to be feared to build them. Same for Nidrold, he's gonna be insane, and he is the only hero that can deal a lot of damage in his faction. He is insane in here. Then it's not mandatory to build a Seal, to build Gerina, to build Mamuk is still awesome in every content. Arena, dungeons, faction abyss, awesome, so you can build him. Then you have Lukia, but you have other options in order to get some stars in this faction, so she is not mandatory, especially if you already have a lot of bleeders. Hertha is great in her faction, but you have many other heroes to do better than her in other content in the game. Melia is one of the best hero for the Force Mark Tower, so if you have her, you can build her. Elena, Gilliman are awesome in the arena at the moment, so if you have them, you can build them, and also they are great in the Tower of Mark. Timmy is great in the Red Mark Tower and in his faction, so yeah, you can build him. Sinov is great in the Green Mark Tower. She is an epic unit, so you can build her. She is awesome in the faction abyss, and in arena she's great because she's gonna get more turn meta every time someone is gonna try to inflict a freeze on her, so you can build her. Then space is great for the arena, Guhana too, but if you already have space, maybe don't build Guhana. Krian is great for the faction abyss and for the Green Mark Tower if you don't have Hezonia. Otherwise, he is not mandatory. Nazil is great for the arena, so if you have him, you can build him. Then Elena is the best damage dealer for her faction, so if you have her, you can build her. Lomas is great for his faction too, and in arena he's decent, he does a lot of damage. Okmin is great for the Force Mark Tower, so you can build him. If you have Nita, she's gonna be insane in all contents, so yeah, you can build her. Anahan is great in the Force Mark Tower, so if you have him, you can build him for that also. Then I would recommend Asindo, if you have the third exclusive on her, otherwise don't build her. Hoff is great for the faction abyss, for the guild boss. If you don't have AhkTaar, use him instead with direct damage. Pauline is awesome everywhere, so probably you already have built him. Wim is early game, he is really interesting. Anton is awesome and also mandatory for the Force Mark Tower. And then it's pretty all. I mean, other heroes in here are secondary heroes. I mean, maybe Elik is great for the Green Mark Tower and in Arena, etc. Same for Fiona, but others here are not mandatory. So make your choice for this kind of rotation. Once we will have in March the next rotation with the poison and direct damage heroes needed, then probably I'm gonna do another similar video. I hope you enjoyed it. If it's the case, as usual, please like, comment and subscribe, and then see you in the next one. Bye bye!
Infinite Magicraid. Play to slay.